what would you say to a veteran struggling right now? Maybe he's isolating, just listening to the podcast, kind of in a dark place. How do you get out of there?
Look at who you are. Look at who you were. Look at where you're at. And what do you want to be? Where do you want to move forward to? And do it. Right now, at this moment, listening to this podcast, do it. Make a step and promise yourself, because you're not going to lie to yourself, I hope. Stop lying to yourself. And make a step. Promise yourself right now that you're going to do one thing. Not 10, not 20. Today, in this moment, do one thing.
This week on the show, I'm bringing on my good friend, Sir Gregory Coots. Greg is a priest, life coach, independent film producer, and former military officer. This episode is chock full of motivation, self-help tips and tricks, and as always, good old-fashioned smoking and joking. The overarching theme of this conversation is not to be taken lightly, however, as we dive deep into the importance of being a logical and independent thinker in today's society. Our mission here on the Veterans Voice podcast is to remind you all that you're not alone. As you hear through the stories of our guests each and every week, we have all struggled, we have all turned to poor outlets to cope with life, and we have all felt alone at times. But these are the reasons we need to all be there for one another within the veteran community, a community whose voice is needed in America more than ever. This is the Veterans Voice podcast, and this is a reminder that you're not alone. Greg, I really appreciate you coming on the Veterans Voice podcast. How's it going, brother?
Good. Thank you very much. This is an awesome
man.
opportunity.
Greg's a good friend of mine, former Green Beret in the 80s era, so obviously a legend. But you do some pretty cool stuff these days.
I don't know if I'm a legend. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I've had my picture more than once on the post office wall. So if that makes me a
You're
legend.
bragging, Greg.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But these days you're a priest.
I'm a priest with the Antioch Orthodox Church.
Awesome. You do life coaching, kind of in regards to homelessness and drug abuse in the veteran community.
Well, we do the life coaching for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
We do motivational speaking for anyone.
Okay.
But our ministry, we reach out. We deal a lot with homeless veterans. The homeless problem, as everyone knows, God, I hope they all know, is a major problem in this country.
And filmmaking.
Yes. I make a lot of sci-fi movies.
Cool.
Made Eye of Nor, Draco Ortis, Replicant Terminus, Revelation is what we're working on now. It's a series. And they all have a light, dark, good versus evil feel. Yeah.
You're still bragging. I'm excited to talk to you, man. This is cool. I met Greg through a veterans breakfast event out here in Colorado.
Yep.
And just kind of gotten to know you, and I like who you are. So
thanks, man. You're former SF too.
I'm a former Green Beret. Before that, I was EOD.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, pretty extensive career in special operations, but got medically retired after 13 years.
Wow.
Do the podcast full time now, so
awesome.
I enjoy it. Love talking to legends like you who just love to brag.
No, you're a cool guy. I'm glad I met you. I mean, everyone I know at the Veterans Breakfast up there, Woodland Park, really have a lot of respect for you.
For sure. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started. I'm not a super religious guy. I'm a very spiritual guy.
Yep.
I think a lot of veterans are kind of in the same boat because, being in the military, there's always church, there's always Sundays, there's always like this religious aspect to it. But I feel like a lot of people have a hard time getting behind it. So where do you start with someone like that?
Well, you made a very good point there. You said you're not religious, but you're spiritual. And I think that's appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I think religion is often misunderstood. It's often abused, exploited. But the spirituality, because, whether we like it or not, I mean, obviously you're considerably younger than I am, but we're all going to die. One way or another, we're all giving up this body. We're all spiritual beings. We were all created by a singular creator to worship and know him. And Jesus Christ brought that opportunity to us, and that's the way of salvation. But as a spiritual person, and you're right, the military does certainly create that, especially with a lot of experiences people had. I mean, you cannot go through, especially the kind of experiences you've had, and not notice there's a spiritual component. I mean, we fought a 25-year war against a religion that says everyone not of that religion is Uriah, below the dung of an animal. And according to their doctrines, whatever you do to Uriah pleases their God. Dismember, disfigure, murder, enslave. That's obviously a spiritual war. Whether you call it that or not, that's what it was, a spiritual war. And we're still dealing with that. We're seeing that all over the world today. And yesterday, October 7th, was, of course, the anniversary of one of their events. So, everything is spiritual. Up to the food you eat, I believe, is spiritual. And I have often told people, with dealing with addiction, alcohol is called what? Distilled spirits. So
interesting.
Yeah. So and look at the damage that alcoholism does.
Yeah. So you're not an alcohol advocate, I
No.
guess.
No. Well, being military, we're both former
It's hard
military.
not to be, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and alcohol's everywhere, but you also see the damage it does.
For sure.
A lot of destroyed families, a lot of destroyed veterans, a lot of diseases that carry over from the alcohol.
Yeah.
So so we're involved in a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a big topic on the podcast for sure, alcoholism in the veteran community. But just to segue real quick back to religion, you described the past 25-year war. That's where I kind of get lost. Like, how can we as humans be so diversified in our beliefs when it comes to religion,
Right.
So what's your take on that?
Again, there's the spiritual component there.
Yeah.
If you believe, as I obviously do, in Jesus Christ, you believe the Holy Bible, I believe every word of the Holy Bible is true, then you know that there's a spiritual war that happened before we were ever created on this planet. And that spiritual war continues today. And you have a segment of the human population, tragically, who believes following that dark side, following the fallen angel, Lucifer, Satan, by the multiple names that he uses, is the appropriate thing to do. We're talking about a religion that says, our God says you must be destroyed. I mean, how bizarre is that?
That is pretty bizarre, but to some it's not.
Correct.
And that's why I get lost.
There you go. There you go. Because of they're completely absorbed in that spirituality.
Right. One thing I notice across all religions, though, is the community.
Yes.
So, religion providing that community, the friendship,
Correct.
The love, the feeling of acceptance. I think that's a really good thing that comes out of
It
religion.
is, except for the religion that we're talking about fighting for 25 years.
Yeah, for sure.
When people leave that, they say that they always felt abused, exploited, and terrified.
Oh, like after the fact?
Well, after they leave that, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I heard a imam tell a joke one time, and imam is, of course, a Muslim spiritual leader. And he told a joke. He said, this guy came to him and said, I can't stop smoking. He goes, what advice do you have? And so the imam said, are you Muslim? He goes, no, I'm not. He goes, well, first step, become a Muslim. He goes, okay, then what? He goes, then we'll tell you to stop smoking. If you don't, we'll kill you. And there you go. I mean, that's the motivation.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I've never known a priest, a minister, or anyone said, stop drinking or we'll kill you.
Yeah. That's true. It's more about acceptance.
Right.
So how'd you get into becoming a priest? Like, where did your journey start? Because you're pretty high up at this point. You're not just a believer. Like, you're preaching.
Yeah, I hold the title of Monsignor in the Antioch Orthodox Church. And so I was raised by Christian parents. My father fought in the Korean War, fought in the Vietnam War. He actually died of Agent Orange.
Sorry to hear.
Yep, 2008. And my mother is 88 years old. And so all of us, I have two older brothers, we were all raised in a very Judeo-Christian value family. And when I was in junior high school, I started getting involved in helping at the Army chapels because we traveled around military. And I got involved in the military chapels, and it just went from there. And as I got my degrees, my undergraduate, all my graduate degrees, during all that time, I studied and made it to the priesthood.
So in regards to religion, has there been times throughout your life where you've really had to rely heavily on it as support because you kind of had nothing else?
Absolutely.
Other than community, it's that belief structure. It's faith. Like, faith is so much bigger than religion, but just having religion to keep the faith during a hard time is super salient.
I spent a few times in military hospitals where you really do feel, and it's not their fault, but you feel totally abandoned.
Yeah.
I had people come see me, and stuff like that. But yeah, well, you're laying there, and back in my day, here we go, Mike, in my day.
Here we go, bragging again.
Yeah, back in my day, the hospitals were lime green. The walls were lime green. The floors were that weird lime green tile. So you're like in this bizarre box.
Sounds like a fever dream.
Yeah, there you go. They weren't like, now military hospitals are hospitals.
Yeah.
They look like hospitals. They feel like, back in the day, they were still hospitals, and you still got care, but they were basically boxes.
Right.
you know, and so you're stuck in this room, you're looking at everything lime green, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. Huh. That's tough, but it got you through.
Yeah. Amen.
Cool.
Yep.
Have you seen like maybe like you could tell a story, but like as a priest, how have you seen religion affect people? Like maybe a non-believer became a believer and you kind of witnessed the whole transition?
Yeah, we could go down a whole huge, gigantic rabbit trail here, but we do a lot of deliverances, and it's what people call exorcisms. And family members, when they actually witness something like that, and they witness the prayers, they witness the reactions of the person who is possessed during the exorcism, that has a huge impact on people, of course. And we've had a lot of people accept Christ through witnessing that. I've had people accept Christ after basically destroying their life and being told by a judge, the next time I see you, it's prison for 20 years. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, that, excuse me, in psychology, you have what's called significant emotional event. And sometimes that's what it takes. You know, when somebody, and I'm sure you see them a lot, when somebody's just cruising through life, everything's going good, they don't have any issues, it's hard to get that person to understand there's something beyond your physical life.
That's a good point. It's like you have to hit rock bottom, or like you said, have a what did you call it? Like
significant emotional event.
A significant emotional event to almost, you know, I have nothing else. I need to believe in something. What is there? And then you grasp onto something. And I feel like, you know, that could go one of two ways. You grasp onto something like religion. That could be good. But in that same dark hole, people grasp onto other things, end up homeless, drug addicted, etc.
And those people get exploited to go down the other path to other religions, which are totally destructive.
Yeah. Wow. You know, I was telling you, and this will segue perfectly, but I made a film. If you guys heard our episode with Ben Patton, General Patton's son, the Patton Project, I went to that, and we made a film, and it kind of talked about hitting rock bottom. So I'll share that in the notes here if viewers want to watch this movie. But I'd love to hear your journey through filmmaking, how you got into that, because I didn't understand like the therapeutic benefits or even like the motive behind filmmaking. Like, you know, I've just never been a movie guy. That's like full transparency, but seeing the creative process behind it and like having a vision and then pitching that vision to a team and then watching the team create it and then watching it come to life and then watching it, man, that's pretty cool. How'd you get into that?
Well, first off, you and I have already talked about this, but we want you and your girlfriend in our episodes.
We'll be there.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, it's funny how I got it. While I was still in the military, I was hired to be an advisor, a historical advisor, on some like Revolutionary War movies, Civil War movies, and then people came to me asked me to be a trainer for like firearms prop training, for like zombie movies. And by the way, people listening, if you ever want to make a movie, if you've got an extra couple of hours on your hand and some makeup, you can make a zombie movie. They're the easiest, quickest movies to make, and that's why there's so many of them. But a lot of these movies where people really want to try to look authentic, they'll hire, people like us, people that have training background, and that's how I got started. I would advise on movies, or I would train people on how to use the weapons correctly, And so that's how I got into it. Then I decided, I have some ideas, ancient stuff, universal ancient stuff. We're talking about religion, and back to that, back and forth, which I think would be cool. Yeah. And so my very first project that was my own was Eye of Nor, which means Eye of Light, which was based on the original writings of the ancient Sumerians concerning monsters and vampires.
And you read all that? You read through it all?
Absolutely.
Holy cow.
There's a tremendous amount of research done on Sumer. And I was blown away in the fact that Sumer, ancient Sumer, first documented society of humanity. They had a 22,000-page history of Earth. So you're the very first people ever, and you've got 22,000 pages to write.
Wow.
And a lot of that was about the spiritual war between the angels and demons. It was about monsters on Earth, the false creations that Satan made when he came to Earth. And one of those was, of course, vampires.
Yeah.
And so and they were called the Hollow Ones. And so I took that and ran with it, and Eye of Nor became Draco Ortis, which means in Latin, dragon rising. And it's about the good, the light, the paladins fighting the evil vampires. And so, it just went from there. And then Replicant Terminus is based on the writings of Philip K. Dick, who wrote "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," and that was the Blade Runner. And so we made a movie based on that, and then now the series, Replicant Terminus Revelation, is continuation of the movie.
Okay. Where can people watch these?
Currently, right now, they're all in film festivals.
Okay.
And because they're in film festivals, you can't release them to the public.
Sure. Okay.
Because once you go film festival, you can't, once you go public, they won't take you back to film festival.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because you're biased at that point.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, well, can you imagine? Think about this. Can you imagine someone walking into a film festival with Star Wars?
Yeah, sure.
They're going to blow. They win.
Yeah.
It's just hands down. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the whole, like I was saying, the film and creative minds in that community, I've just never been around it, but it's huge. It's so cool being around those types of people.
And you got to be careful because that's also a code. Independent film is a code for people doing very bad things as well.
Yeah, I've heard indie film.
Yeah.
It's a little slang.
Yeah, and you got to be careful because indie film is a code for doing other kinds of things too.
Like what?
A lot of the pornography,
Sure.
a lot of the child exploitation,
Okay.
a lot of drug trafficking.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, because we're
Through
meeting this weekend to do an indie film.
Okay.
Wink, wink. And then we'll be exchanging this, we'll be exchanging that, and yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you got to be careful. You got to know who you're working with.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, if anyone out there is interested, do your research.
Yeah.
And actually sit down. Go get right now. We both have a cup of coffee. Yeah. Sit down, have a cup of coffee with the person running the indie film,
right, and
find out what this is really about.
Yeah. See, I'm so naive to it all. Yeah. What are some of your favorite films?
You know what? This is going to sound funny, but sorry for clearing my throat.
Okay.
I love the old 50s and 60s action films.
All right.
Because they really had budgets back then.
Yeah.
And they really made stuff.
Yeah.
And so especially the old cavalry films.
Right.
That was awesome.
Yeah. That's what I was just saying at this film festival. They asked what our favorite films were. Alfred Hitchcock was the first series, just that director in general. But just when movies were more about the acting, the camera angles, the shots, and the transitions are non-existent. There's no transition. It just goes to the next scene. There's a little bit of music. There's no special effects. It was just acting and camera work.
Correct.
And that was just so cool to me.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah, 50s even more so.
Yeah, and some of the budgets those people had is just phenomenal.
You're saying they had a high budget?
A big stream. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were. The studios would underwrite everything.
Huh. I was gonna say budgets back then versus now. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You watch the new Dune movie. I'm sure that had a huge budget.
Oh yeah, and a lot of the special effects in movies now, which was most people couldn't even conceptualize back then.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of also the thing too. And I'm not going to drop names, so don't worry. The acting had to be better. With these actors back in the 50s and 60s and 40s.
Yeah.
Because the acting had to carry the movie.
Yeah.
You couldn't hide behind green screens and have 100 explosions, then you come out the hero.
Yeah. Now you watch these movies that are 3 or 4 episodes or 3 or 4, sequels long, and somehow the actor looks younger, prettier, faster, stronger. I'm like, that was 10 years ago. How are they doing this?
Exactly.
It just gets unrealistic, and then you lose me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's something that, and I know this is a podcast, but you put a picture of me up on your site or whatever, but that's something I always have to overcome because no one ever takes me seriously because of how gorgeous I am. I mean, you're looking at me now. You get the hair's flowing down the back.
Yep.
It's just naturally curly. I don't know what to say. I look like I'm 20. I've looked that way for 30 years. I don't get it, man. So I always have to overcome that.
Bald guys look good for a long time. 2 bald guys talking here.
That's right. No, I could easily see you. I could easily see you and your girlfriend getting into some serious movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll just make sure I clarify, like you said.
Yeah, no, you better. Yeah, no. And people get caught in that all the time. Yeah. I've known, I could tell you 1,000 horror stories. People, everything's fine. They check out, they interview people, they show up for the first day of filming, and so on says, okay, well, get undressed. It's like, what?
Really?
Never, ever have you said any of this. Well, you're here now. Let's do it.
Huh.
And it's like, no.
We don't pay you.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I'll make a drastic segue real quick. This is the Veterans Voice podcast. We like to just pitch resources, mindset advice, mental health advice. What do you do these days for community and feeling acceptance other than religion? Obviously, joining a church, being a part of that community, but just day to day, how do you make sure you feel that community?
Well, the veterans, of course. I hang out with a lot of veterans. The Veterans Breakfast, which is up at Woodland Park, the first Saturday of every month. If you're a veteran, you're invited.
Yeah, if you want
you're
to,
a veteran family.
if you want to put out the information now, that'd be good.
Yeah. Jess's Place, which is a pool hall right next to the Thai Good Eats restaurant up there. First Saturday of every month, 8 a.m.
Yep.
Just come by. Even if you're not a veteran, you're welcome.
Yep. Yeah, if you're going, out 24, you get into downtown Woodland Park.
It's just
right before the donut shop.
Yes.
On the right there.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what, 7:30, 8:30?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And so, and it's right next to the big sign that says Thai Good Eats. It's right there, which, by the way, is a great restaurant.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, those veteran breakfasts, they're really cool. They're all ages. I mean, me, mid-30s are there, and then you got, Vietnam Green Berets there bragging about stuff. Like, it's a cool environment. Cinnamon rolls are on point usually.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And there are people there in their 90s.
Yeah.
We've even had a couple World War II vets that used to go there. Yeah, so cool. Korean War, Vietnam War. Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks for telling everybody about that. But, yeah, I think community is such a big part. Like, you hear people falling off the deep end and stuff. Like, they just lost community because,
that's right.
I'm not going to, put any names or labels behind it, but, us veterans, we can get lost in our own minds sometimes.
Correct.
And it's important to run things by each other, So, being a part of a veteran community and, talking and –
that's right.
explaining your problems, talking about what you're going through, and you realize you're not alone. I just think that's super important.
Well, see, what you're talking about is culture.
Culture, for sure.
Yeah, people, you need to create a culture.
For sure.
And, people, if they forget how important that is, for example, I'm not going to plug any restaurants, but you go to your favorite restaurant and you like it and it's good. But if you step back, the food's good, but also look around. They've created a culture of that restaurant.
Yeah.
And you go in there and it's like, oh, this is, for whatever. And so, that's important. The culture is important. The community is extremely important. Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I do want to throw one thing out real quick. A lot of veterans, as you say, get lost in their own minds. And, I hear this all the time, and I do want to say, you're not being followed. You're not being listened to.
Yeah.
You're not being conspired against. Let that go.
Yeah.
And I one of the things I tell people when I counsel with them, think about the sheer resources that would be required to follow and watch and listen to all the veterans.
For sure.
That would be insanity.
Would be insanity.
So unless you're standing on top of a building screaming about you're going to take over the government, nobody is following you or listening to you.
Yeah. And I don't, that's just a common story. And I don't know why that's where our minds go a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've all been to war. We've all been in intense trainings, and it's in our blood. It's in our DNA now to watch our back.
Yeah.
So now we get into the real world, and we don't have that culture, that community, and that mindset attaches to the biggest threat, which would be what? I don't know, fill in the blank with literally anything. And we start to get paranoid.
That's right. And, as far as watching your back, I always do. When I teach CCW, I teach BLS, I teach survival. And I always tell people, do a 360 check.
Right.
You're in a ball, check 360, up, down, back, front, and just be aware. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's something wrong with that when you say the squirrels are now robots, that their eyes are cameras. Yeah. That might be a problem.
That's out there.
Yes, you're getting out there.
Yeah, I don't even want to hint that would be a possibility. But that would be insanity.
And unfortunately, when people lose those connections, they fill it with something.
Right.
And what they're going to fill it with is their fears.
Yeah, I agree. I always say when people lose purpose, it's because they're not being creative. You have to create something, or you're being created. And you can be creative through anything, language, having a conversation, being articulate. I love creating through conversation, but
that's right.
Painting, sketching, going for a walk and observing colors that are outside, just painting the picture in your head, making films, making music, singing, dancing. There's so many ways to be creative, and I just think it's in our blood to be creative. We're creative beings.
I've actually heard older people going through therapy talk about creative and say I started going downhill when I stopped being creative. I stopped dancing. I stopped singing. Just sing and dance by yourself. If nothing else, just in the privacy of it, just sing and dance.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people are nervous even by themselves in their house, though.
And that's that internal conflict. That's what we've created. That's right.
For sure.
My mom's 88, like I said, and she's a sharp mind. She's doing well. But one of the things I got my mom doing a few years ago was I got her coloring books,
Cool.
colors, and word find. It keeps the brain going. And my mom loves to color. She loves doing the word find.
Yeah.
And of course, she does have community. We have, but that's important.
Yeah.
You got to keep your brain active.
Right. Talk about that a little bit more. Just going back a couple minutes here. If you lose purpose or lose community, what did you say? You said like your bad thoughts or your negative thoughts or your fears come true.
You have to fill a void with something. And like you said, the veterans, what have veterans experienced? A lot of really bad things.
Yeah.
And every one of us, I was an officer, I was commissioned 85, but most all veterans will tell you, to include myself, that I've had horrible officers.
Right.
We've had horrible leaders. And they create undue and unnecessary harm and difficulty. Now, when you leave that environment and you're no longer around other military people and you're void because you haven't filled something, your brain finds something to focus on, doesn't matter what it is. And if you have a lot of negativity in your life, you'll intensify that negativity.
Huh.
That's why you need to be positive. And a lot of people tell me, oh, this is a bunch of crap. It's not a bunch of crap. The daily positive affirmations,
Right.
and people tell you get up in the morning and you say these things,
Yeah.
it really does affect you. And I love the saying, be careful what you're thinking because your body is listening.
Yeah, this is where I get a little bit spiritual because I've just had too many coincidences, which I now know are no longer.
I don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah, I don't either. But like just things that I've thought of, both good and bad, that came true. So
Correct.
when they say like you are what you think, or what you're saying, like be careful what you think about, it's scary how true that is.
Absolutely. Because we are spiritual beings.
Right.
And you've seen thermal sights. Of course you have. And you can see that aura that we all put off.
Energy.
That's right. It's all energy.
Yeah.
And there's other entities around us which are attracted to that energy.
Right.
It's true. And, I'm a forensic evaluator. One of my graduate degrees is forensic psychology. Another is research and education psychology. Another is counseling. I have several graduate degrees. So I've seen this stuff work for real. I've seen people who are just totally dark and absolute black, okay?
Right.
And come into light by literally changing a mindset.
Right.
And that's why you have to be careful. Talking about demonic possession earlier.
Yeah.
If you stay in that too long, you've opened every door.
Yeah.
And now you're in deep.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about any particular event, okay? Just think about, as you're listening to this, think about all the news broadcasts of all the people who have gone insane, tried to kill people, tried to look at their eyes, look at their behavior, look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And when politicians from all over the country, not just this country, talking about disarming people, talking about, taking over people's lives, talking about, basically becoming your master, look at their eyes while they're talking. And look at the eyes of someone who says, you don't need to defend yourself. I will do that.
Right.
You don't need to punish these people because they emptied out a store. 100 people went in out and stole everything. We're not going to punish them. Start looking at those people who are behind those policies.
How do you think people become that delirious?
I think everything in life, and you might laugh at this, but everything in life is a series of basically classical conditioning and rewards and punishments. Okay? If I walked in here and, you got a cool studio here and you're a cool guy.
Appreciate it.
But I walk in here and I say, I don't know what any of that stuff over there is, but it looks cool and I want to put it in my car.
Right.
So I started plugging stuff to walk out. If you hold the door open for me, then you're going to have a bigger problem next time.
I love analogies. That was a good
because
one.
The next time I'm taking the screen.
Yeah.
And the next time, finally, you'll be sitting in a room with not even these chairs. These are nice chairs. Thank you.
The keys to the building.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. And then I'll bring in someone who I can control.
Yeah.
And I'll turn the podcast over to them.
Yeah.
And they'll say only what I want them to say.
Right. This kind of goes back to our religion conversation because you have like such drastic different views.
Yes.
How does someone get to be that far onto that side?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And again, rewards and punishments.
Right.
And that's why, I have a son who's 20 years old and he's at Virginia Tech. God bless him. Cool. And I love him. His name's Gregory also. And of course, I'll say this, I'm his father and he's a brilliant guy. And there's an old joke, who has the most beautiful baby in the world? Every parent.
Yeah.
Okay, you get it. But, people say, well, I could never spank a 2 or 3-year-old. You better.
Yeah.
If they're doing something wrong, legitimately wrong. First, you try to talk to them, and they're not going to respond.
Yeah.
So then you have to have, minor, small, little, a spank on a pop on the butt. If you don't, when that child's 10, they're going to be taking you out with a hammer. You follow what I'm saying? And that's the reward and punishment. There's never been consequence for anything I do.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm just wondering, I'm starting to think too deep into this, but why has punishing your children become offensive and frowned upon?
I'll go down the rabbit hole. I'll go all the way, man.
Is that on purpose? Yeah, I don't know.
And because the liberal left-wing psychology of the 60s and 70s said, don't punish anyone for anything.
Yeah.
You have to tolerate and accept everyone and everything. My response to that now in 2024 is, then why are you not tolerating and accepting me?
Right.
If I have a different opinion.
Yeah.
This is your own doctrine.
Yeah.
So shouldn't I be accepted and tolerated?
I agree.
And so you see a very clear agenda. And when you get to the root of these things, these are all percolations, okay? If you go to the core is, I need to control every single thing you say and do. And if you go on a website, I'm not preaching, I'm not political, go on the United Nations' own website, their own website, and look at the different agendas, especially Agenda 21 and 30. Mm-hmm. Agenda 2030 says that by 2030, none of us own anything. Everything's on loan from whoever the government is.
How do they word that, though?
You just go read it, go look at it.
Because they can't just say that.
No,
right?
It's the good of all people.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, I love plaid. Sure. I usually wear plaid shirts. I love plaid, but I don't have that plaid shirt. I don't think it's fair that you do.
Right.
So until I get a plaid shirt like that, someone needs to take yours.
Until we can all have the same plaid shirt.
Until we can all have the same plaid shirt.
And then it'll be uniform and controlled.
That's right. And also, we have two very different lives.
Yeah.
Okay. I was never EOD. Yeah. I was explosive ordnance reconnaissance agent.
Okay.
That's what they trained us for, that identifying stuff, how to deal with emergencies. You know the deal. But it's not fair that you got to go EOD. Why didn't I?
Right.
That's such a bizarre, perverted, twisted way of thinking.
Right.
I flew helicopters for 4 years. Is that fair to other people who didn't? And why wasn't I flying F-16s? That's not fair. So we start getting in these twisted, sick ideas. You have a girlfriend. Uh-huh. I don't. That's not fair. Where's my girlfriend?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, these are great examples.
And so suddenly it's like, where do we draw the line?
Right.
And what happens is I'll come along. Don't worry, Taylor. I'll fix all the problems because I know what we need. First thing we need is to make sure no one can hurt anyone, so give me all your guns. Second thing, because now no one has guns, we have savages that are running around with machetes and axes. Okay, fine. Everyone's at home and the doors are locked at 7. If you're out at 7:30, I have people who will come and deal with you. And now we're all safe. And no one's safe at that point. You know that.
Right.
Because what's happening the next day. So we got to that point of this blanket insanity of total toleration and total acceptance. And I'll tell you right now, if someone walked in this door right now and punched you, you're younger than I am, you're stronger than I am. I know martial arts, I know you do too. I would attack them.
Right.
Because they attacked you.
Yeah.
Why? What's wrong with that? What I should do is sit back and say, well, I accept what's happening. I don't accept what's happening.
Yeah, or even further, it's not fair that you get to punch him. I want to punch him too.
Exactly. But I'm not going to accept that.
Right.
I'm not accepting that you busted in and punched Taylor. I'm not accepting that.
Right.
And you're not okay. And that the problem is don't get involved. Let it go. Well, that we burn entire cities down that way.
Right.
I'm angry about something, so I get to burn your city. What?
Yeah, it's not going to work. And
No.
It's because we're creative individuals, like I was saying.
Bingo.
Because people, maybe we're inherently more lazy than we were a couple decades ago.
I agree 100%.
So this might sound nice at first, like, oh, everything's taken care of. We're all wearing plaid shirts and we all get to do whatever.
Yep.
We realized, or we forgot that we like to create. We like to make decisions. We actually do want to be in control of our own life.
Correct.
But I think we're forgetting that.
Correct, because we're free moral agents.
Right.
And also the plaid shirt thing, when you just said it, we're all wearing, what if I don't want to wear plaid?
Yeah, now everyone doesn't want to wear plaid anymore.
But that's okay because we have camps for those people to teach them to like plaid.
But that's what I mean. We all have to realize that we don't want to all wear plaid, and we have to say something.
Right, exactly.
I want to wear a suit sometimes.
And the bottom line here is that you said you just hit it. Why aren't more people saying something?
Right.
Because they're put down.
Yeah.
The second I say we should lock that door so people can't attack us, you don't want people in? What's wrong with you? You're putting up a barrier for someone.
Right.
What if someone really wants to go in there and punch him? And then you get this whole perverted, bizarre argument. You mean, what? What if it means a lot to me to go punch Taylor?
Yeah.
What? You follow what I'm saying?
Kind of.
Yeah. Well,
it's hard to think like that,
Bingo.
Yeah.
It's hard to think until you've been on that road.
Yeah.
And when you've educated a person to think that way.
Right.
Okay. I've talked to parents who've come to us and said, what do I do at school? My child had so-and-so. Another student wanted it, so the teacher made him share it. Huh. And it's like, well, what they have? And it's just, well, my son had a certain thing for lunch. My son had a ball because he's going to play ball afterwards, and someone else wanted. And it's like, no, I mean, that's the boundaries in our lives has become blurry.
Yeah, almost non-existent.
Almost non-existent.
Yeah.
And that's why when you walk into stores and you see someone, and I've witnessed this, you probably have, just walk in the store, get what they want and walk out.
Yeah. That's why you got to get someone to unlock the socks at Walmart now.
Isn't that sad?
It's sad.
Isn't that very sad?
I don't go to Walmart often, but I actually needed white T-shirts for I was going on a camping trip. I didn't want to think about changing, so I was like, I'm just going to buy 6 T-shirts. So I was like, I'll swing by Walmart. Yeah. We were in Iceland, actually, and we were backpacking. I wanted to just keep it simple. I was like, just 6 T-shirts, whatever. It was $5. I had to get someone to unlock the white T-shirts. That cost $9.99.
Yep.
And she had to walk me to the self-checkout, watch me scan my credit card, and then hand it to me.
I know.
I kept my cool, believe it or not.
No, but it's not her fault.
Right.
I mean, that's what the corporation says. It's what the corporation says.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why California now has had 900 stores closed.
Wow.
Because they've just been emptied out. And when you tell someone, I will not arrest you for shoplifting, it's over.
It's now encouraged.
It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. Wild times.
Yeah, yes, it is. And that's why I'm a big proponent of self-defense, of self-preservation. I really am.
Yeah.
And of course that goes along with the reason I think a lot of people are opposed to that is that goes along with self-responsibility. If I tell you, Taylor, you have to be careful and take care of yourself, well, that really sucks because now you told me something else I want to do, which I don't want to do.
Right. Only because you told me, though.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Deep down, I actually do want to take care of myself, but because you told me, no.
Exactly.
I'm just letting myself go.
Exactly. Well, and it's like, well, wait a minute. I thought that was your job. Don't we have 911 for that? And it's like, even the police will tell you, no, we're not coming because we have 1,000 calls.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to lead to. It's a big question, but what do we do about all this?
And that takes me right back to spirituality.
There you go.
We are in a massive, massive spiritual war right now. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And when you look at the behavior of certain people, just look at them in their speeches and look at their eyes, look at their mannerisms, and try to make sense of what they're saying, you'll see there's some spiritual mumbo-jumbo going on there. There's some things that aren't right there. And so what we need to do is, and I believe which is inherent to every human being, is we need to be prepared to defend ourselves. And that includes stocking up on food and water, making sure you have water filters where you can drink out of a stream or a lake, whatever, a good water filter. And by the way, you're talking about Walmart. I used to buy these ceramic water filters at Walmart. They were under $20. Have you seen the exact ones now? $70.
Really?
Because the corporations know what's going on.
Huh.
They know what people are trying to do.
Yeah.
And they're also locked up as well. Go to buy a filter, you got to get someone to unlock. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And so, the basic self needs. Get your basic hygiene items and stock up. When I mean stock up, you're looking at a 1 year to 3 years supply of something. And I know that sounds insane to people, but if things go very badly, and what was in the last 3 years, we've had 400, 500 something food processing plants burned down.
Oh, really?
That's been on the news. It's been everywhere.
Huh.
Look at how many food plants are burned down. When things get really, really bad, stores aren't going to be open.
Yeah.
And look what happened during the pandemic, or some people call it plandemic. I'm not going to go politics.
Sure.
Look at what happened. Did you ever go into Walmart during the pandemic?
Nope.
Shelves were bear.
Yeah.
And that was one quote unquote little thing.
Yeah.
Now wait till it's a big thing.
Big thing. Yeah.
Or a bunch of little things.
Yeah.
Where are you getting your food? Where are you getting your T-shirts?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to have clothing.
They're going to give you a plaid shirt to wear, though.
That's right. That's exactly right.
No,
That's right. You'll be issued your clothing.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard politicians literally talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll ration out of Walmart. And it's like, why are you even saying that?
Huh.
What's coming?
Right.
You know, and I used to tell people, and I tell them all the time, you know, kind of, you can gauge things by what people tell you might happen. Wink, wink. You know, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the city caught on fire tomorrow. What a bizarre statement. Why would you say that?
Right.
Because I happen to know something.
Yeah, that's a bold statement.
Yes, yes. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you're told, hey, this might happen, you probably need to listen to that.
Yeah. I have kind of an alternate view because I have to, you know. You have to look at both sides. Like there could always something could always happen. But things could also get better without everything happening.
Amen.
I know it's maybe slight chance or less of a chance.
I agree with you.
I do feel like because of a spiritual war that's going on, because I do feel like, and maybe it's just because I live in Colorado, but people are becoming more spiritual and more community-based and more aware of themselves, of their actions, of their emotions.
Right.
Like, let's not pay as much attention to politics and stuff. Let's form community and build groups.
Correct.
And have our own way of life in a way.
See, and you are part of that, Taylor. You're part of that movement.
For sure.
The stuff you do, I know you're involved in a lot of things. The stuff you're doing is part of that, you know? And so you have the proactive and the reactive.
Right.
Where do you want to be? There's a spectrum. There's a whole spectrum there.
Yeah. I've already been programmed by the government to be proactive because I was in the military.
That's right. That's right.
So,
that's right. And I agree with you, but you know, and with the same programming, you got to be proactive, but be prepared to be reactive.
For sure.
In a smart way.
Yeah. And I think that kind of just sums up the question is, you know, you can only be prepared for you and your home and your house and your family, be a part of a community of people who think like-minded. And that's what gives you peace of mind. I just think we could see that becoming, you know, more prevalent than like keeping up with politics and stuff.
I hope so. I agree with you.
I hope so too.
Yeah. And you're 100% correct. You are. And that's what the church is about. That's what, you know, we have a pantry to help people and we encourage people the same thing, you know, work together, support each other.
Yeah. I just think probably more Americans than not are just fed up with everything. And that's that's going to bring us together.
Absolutely.
So I hope it doesn't have to be like another, you know, emotional event like you were saying, a large scale something. I hope not. I really hope not. I hope we can all come together without that, which I think we're capable of.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you.
We'll see. Only time will tell.
That's exactly right. So why Iceland and how'd you do in Iceland?
My girlfriend has always wanted to go to Iceland. I have been out of the military a little under a year, and this was the first time I was able to like take 2 weeks off without having to get approval to go out of the country from some captain like you. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And so we just went. She took 2 weeks off work, and we just went. So yeah, we're really trying to travel more.
Good.
You know, she's got a full-time job, and if she can take like a week off 4 times a year, we just want to see the world. So we don't have children, just a couple dogs, and I don't know. The world's a beautiful place, and
yes, it is.
America's a beautiful place, but there's other beautiful places out there, and I just want to check it out.
Iceland is amazing.
You've been to some cool countries?
Oh, you know, yeah. Most I can't talk about, but yeah, Iceland is amazing.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about on the phone, and I said, you know, Iceland used to be part of the American DEW line, Defense Early Warning. So Iceland but it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous for sure.
It's like no place on earth.
Yeah, yeah. We did a lot of hiking, did a lot of sightseeing. Didn't spend a whole lot of time in the cities. We were just out in the mountains. Hiking.
Did you get in the hot springs, the natural hot springs they got there? You got quite a few.
Yeah, we found a thermal river.
Yeah.
So it was only like a foot deep at the deepest, but you just kind of lay in it, and it was like probably 110 degrees, and then there'd be like little shots of hot air coming onto your back that were like too hot to stand. So
Iceland and New Zealand are the two most commonly used place for sci-fi films and stuff.
Oh, really?
Because they're so diverse.
Yeah.
They're so diverse.
Right. Like depending where in the country you are.
Yeah. So next time you guys make a big trip, New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's worth seeing.
Yeah. I was going to say Iceland being diverse. Yeah, you could be probably in less than an hour like shoot a film that looks like you're in Antarctica.
Yep.
And then you could shoot a film that looks like you're in a rainforest.
Exactly.
And then you could shoot a film under a waterfall. And then you could shoot a film at a beach.
That's right.
All in like probably a couple hours.
I know.
It's
I know.
so cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
The Veterans Voice podcast is sponsored in part by Optum and is produced in the Optum Podcast Studio. Optum and Mountain View Medical Group offer 20 clinics throughout the Pikes Peak region. Their primary and specialty care doctors provide quality, patient-centered care backed by Optum's industry-leading health services and technology. They are dedicated to helping our community live healthier while keeping care affordable. Visit optum.com/Colorado to learn more and schedule your appointment today. What kind of motivational speaking do you do?
Basically, what I like to do is to get people. First thing I do, and let's say you. It's for audience, but okay.
Yeah.
Who are you? First and foremost. What do you want to do? What do you want to become? And where are you from? Those are all internal questions. There's a famous, old famous saying that I love to use often, and that is the angels and the demons each ask a particular question. The demons ask, what do you want? That's external.
Okay.
The angels ask, who are you? That's internal.
Okay.
Because until you're aware of who you are internally, spiritually, you cannot connect to God. If you're constantly outside, you're constantly on the periphery, it's about want. So the first thing you have to do is find out who are you and how do you want to progress in life. I don't care if you're 20 or 100. If you're 100 and you're still breathing and moving, then you can still do stuff.
Yeah.
You can still do stuff. So what do you want to be? Now we have to sit down and ask, how do we get there? We're at this point now. What brought you to this point? Okay. And you have to look at your own life. Had you not been EOD and Special Forces, do you think you'd be here today doing this?
This podcast?
Probably not.
Absolutely not.
Probably, that's right.
Right.
And so those events brought you to some place,
Right.
This place. So what road did you choose? What happened? What would have been like if you did something else? Now that you're here at the podcast, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go from here? And because you're on this track, you have a tremendous amount of possibilities. You really do. So also, and you don't have to go into detail. I'm betting that your girlfriend you currently have, which I've met, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's not your first girlfriend, is she?
No.
Why? So now you have to say, okay, why did those other relationships not continue?
Right.
And then you learn from that.
Right.
And what did they do that affected you?
Yeah.
What did you do? Because we all did something
For sure.
that affected them.
Well,
Because what have you learned from that you're applying to this? And that's how we grow in life.
yeah.
And yeah, we all make mistakes. We all get the wrong people. You know the famous saying, I know you heard it 1,000 times in the military. That's why they're called X's.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And being SF, there's a lot of divorce.
Yeah.
Because-
Military in general.
Military in general, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the suicides in the military, 29. DOD says worldwide 29 a day.
Right. Wow.
Some sources say 22. DOD says worldwide 29. Law enforcement says there's a suicide law enforcement officer every 13 minutes.
Jeez.
So you have to ask yourself what's going on and what's not being met. So when you do the motivational speaking and the life coaching, that's basically what the first thing you got to do is basically let's map out where you are. And it's sad, Taylor. I know this doesn't apply to you, and thank God it doesn't apply to me. A lot of people, they might have a good job, a good office, don't know who they are.
For sure.
And they don't know where they're at.
Right. Well, once you ask yourself those questions and you realize you don't know, you just open a can of worms that you might not be ready to eat.
That's right. And that's why we give them, okay, now that we do this, this is the next step. How do you now organize? How do you categorize?
Right.
Because there's multiple dimensions to you.
Yeah.
I don't believe, and maybe you do, and that would be kind of sad but comical in the same way, I don't think you walk around with earphones on all the time with a notepad in your lap. That's not 24/7 Taylor.
Notebook, I always got a notebook if you know me, but earphones, probably not.
and I doubt you sit down with everyone you meet and start doing an interview.
No.
Because that's a component
People don't
of
like
you.
it. They get triggered.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you asking me questions?
Exactly.
I just want to get to know you.
Exactly. And see, that is a component of you. There's also other component, a component that goes camping,
Yeah.
And that buys extra T-shirts so he doesn't have to deal with it.
Right.
That's another component of you. You said you have 2 dogs.
Yep.
That's another component. Okay. So you're multifaceted because you're an individual.
Yeah. I like identity diversification.
That's
right. If you have a job and then like 5 hobbies, your job could be going poor, and then one of your hobbies is maybe not going to plan, but your 3 others are going well.
Correct.
Or you have 20 good friends, 5 of them you're kind of in a little truffle with or whatever. The other 15, we can reach out. So it's all these knobs of like different areas of your life that you can turn at different times.
That's
if one
beautiful.
is slacking, you can amplify the other one.
That's beautiful.
Like I have some fallbacks. I make music, not professionally, more of just a hobby, but that's one that I can always fall back on. I can go sit at my computer. It's all like electronic music. Don't judge me, but I just sit at my computer and make weird sounds and add a kick and a snare, and it sounds pretty cool. So, but that's been a fallback of mine.
See, because you're multifaceted, because you're creative.
You have to be.
A lot of people aren't.
It's a requirement for happiness, in my opinion.
That's 100% true.
Right.
And that's why we see a lot of people in their 20s now, even 20s and 30s, with heart disease, liver disease, mental illness.
Yeah.
Mental illness has never been as high as it is now.
Right.
And we're talking per capita.
Right.
You can say, well, of course there's more because there's more people. No, I'm talking per capita, per 100 people. We've never seen cancer like we see it now. We've never seen mental illness like we see it now. We've never seen suicides like we're seeing it now.
Right.
We've never seen addictions. And if you watch TV at all, you're encouraged to be addicted.
Right.
It's in your face constantly.
Yeah, I think I don't want to dive too deep into it, but if you scroll aimlessly on social media, you're quite literally watching other people be creative while not being creative.
Bingo.
So it's like just every scroll is draining your internal energy tank because you're watching other people be creative and becoming less and less creative.
Correct.
I got away from social media almost a year and a half ago at this point, and it was probably the best decision I ever made.
Good.
I know I can't like throw that on everyone because it's uncomfortable. It's the norm nowadays, but that's how I describe it. You're watching other people be creative while simultaneously being uncreative, and it hurts.
100% agree with you. And during the pandemic, they moved, a lot of colleges and universities moved up to 70% of their classes online and never came off. Well, now they're seeing higher failure rates.
Right.
Why? I'm sitting down at the computer, but instead of doing schoolwork, what am I doing? Jumping on social media. And it's not getting done. People are losing time.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, if it's possible, you've got a notebook there with you. One of the things I do in life coaching is I want you to keep a notebook. And I want you to be honest because it's just you. Be honest with you. A big problem in our culture is that we lie to ourselves.
For sure.
Okay. So be honest. Open your notebook, write down the time, 8 p.m. When you finally realize that you're tired, you need to go to sleep, write down the time. A lot of people, this is sad, Taylor, have been on the computer 5-6 hours. Think about that.
I do.
That's a drain.
Often.
No, I know you do. That's a total drain.
Absolutely.
And
you're talking outside of work, like after work.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking just scrolling around, looking at, and again, what happens? You get those 30-second sound bites that tell you the following things.
Right.
You are a loser. Only this can fix it. You're not worth it. Mm-hmm. You don't have an opinion. I have all the opinions. Right. And this person is going to send you to a concentration camp, and this person is going to kill you. Right. And that's the garbage that you people are feeding on. And that's why we're in a political year. We're less than a month from the election, right? Yeah. So what are people being bombarded with? If this guy gets elected, you're going to a concentration camp. He'll take your rights. But
people are saying this?
You go, yes. Yeah. Well, so you're off.
See, I'm out. I'm way out.
And you lose all your rights. And it's like, well, the guy's already had 4 years. Look what he did in 4 years. Everything was 10 times better. But it's the soundbite. It's the 30 seconds. If I stuck my head in this door while you're talking and suddenly said, I don't know. I hope there's no one named Phil in this building. You know anyone named Phil? Okay.
No.
If I stuck my head and said, Phil's a pervert and he's been watching you in the bathroom and shut the door. And you go, what the? The next time, poor Phil, God bless Phil, walking down the hallway, not you, Taylor, because you're not a raging idiot.
Right.
What would happen to a lot of people when they met Phil?
They'd be pissed.
Yeah. And what would happen to Phil?
Everyone would walk in and punch him in the face.
And he knows nothing about what's going on.
Right.
But all I needed to do was shout that one thing, And because you're not thinking.
Yeah.
See, we have different levels of thinking. You have self-awareness, self-determinant, self-advanced thinking, and sophisticated thinking. You are clearly a sophisticated thinking. You're the highest realm of thinking, where you think, wait a minute, who's Phil? I don't know Phil. How does anyone know when I go to the bathroom? Okay.
Right.
I don't publish that.
Yeah.
And who was that? Who just stuck their head in here and yelled that? And most important, what's their relationship to Phil?
Right. And why do they know Phil's doing that?
Bingo.
You
That's
just
the
start
next
asking
thing.
questions.
Yeah, and that's sophisticated thinking. And one of the things I always, how do you know that?
Right.
Okay, that's one. And the other is, if you could, you would.
Right.
Okay, if this guy who was president 4 years, okay, if he's going to do these things you're warning me about, he had 4 years to do them. Why didn't he do them? You see, this is the sophisticated thinking.
100%.
And this is how you have to start thinking. That's why I love these kinds of podcasts that you do.
Yeah.
Because it makes people think.
I love thinking. It brings up a point. I don't know. I don't want to dive into like specific examples, but like I often find times like if I do ask questions in a public setting, in a social setting, and I just become a personable character. I care about what this person is up to. I care about their job. Like, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Instead of just like ending it there, I like, well, what does that look like? What company does that work for? How long have you been doing that? And I just genuinely care because I genuinely do, just like on this podcast.
Yeah.
People start feeling like, why are you asking me all these questions? They start getting stressed. Like like, I don't understand that because I genuinely care. I want people to be comfortable talking about their life, their job, their pursuits, their goals, their dreams, but they like get uncomfortable.
Well, because you hit a very important thing there. You said, and I believe you said you genuinely care. Well, you're not supposed to do that now.
Right.
You're not supposed to care about people.
Yeah.
That's why 67% divorce rate?
Really?
Because you only use a person until you're tired of them. There's no real true give and take.
Yeah.
And I really don't care.
Right.
You know, the average thought, I want to take from you and get what I can from you, then I'm moving on.
Right.
So when you legitimately care about a person, as you do, that's not okay because I don't know how to deal with that because I've been trained by society, by social media. We live in these 30-second sound bites.
Yeah.
So if you start telling me, I sit down, I talk to you, hey, and then you go, yeah, I was in the military. Oh, dude, no, why are you unloading on me?
Right.
And it's like, what? I'm just trying to have a normal conversation.
Right.
But I don't know what a normal conversation is.
Right. Back
to your original question about religion. Who defines normalcy now? What is normal?
Tough one.
You follow what I'm saying?
Plaid.
There you go. That's exactly right. And that's why.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm super cautious. If I hear someone say some of these little sound bites, apart from all the other questions we just asked, but why are you saying that? Okay. And why are you putting that out?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people that know me, especially in the film community, know that there was a vicious blog posted about me several years ago because I exposed some stuff that Antifa was doing.
Sure.
And Antifa put out a vicious blog. The FBI and CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, both were involved. And they both told me, FBI and CBI both said, if 10% of this blog was true, you'd be dead or in prison for the rest of your life.
Wow.
But yet people still today, this was 12 plus years ago, today people say, well, have you read that blog? Well, the FBI made Reddit, go look it up now,
Right.
Made Reddit archive it. And people still find it.
Huh.
And it's like, are you serious? Are you serious? And one of the agreements was I got to do the last statement on the blog.
Okay.
So now when you read the blog, it starts out with, if I'm doing these things, contact your local law enforcement and the FBI. They need to know immediately. And that's what's out the blog. So then you read down and it's like, my God, this is unbelievable. Who would believe this?
Right.
But it's there, social media. And because people don't think. And I had, I'm serious, I had 20 different law enforcement agencies, to include federal agencies, involved in that.
Wow.
And it finally got shut down. And it's like, one of the FBI agents I spoke to said, dude, you are one of the most expensive investigations we've ever had, and you came up zero.
Holy cow. Huh.
Because of a blog,
Right.
because of social media. And what happened was, if you go back to the very beginning, this was retaliation because we exposed a domestic terrorist group.
Right.
And that's what they did. They used social media because it's more effective than shooting at me. Think about it.
That's true. Yeah, the media cycle is pretty interesting these days. It's like something happens. Let's just say there's a car crash.
Yep.
And then who's ever right there right now when it happens, they're in a rush to share it with the world, and it's just because they want to feel important and get famous and go viral. There's no real reason that we need to post this car crash.
That's right.
People get a hand on it. There's a couple on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook who are at the top and sharing this, and then the news gets involved, and no one's really taking the time to confirm this car crash. Everyone's just like, everyone's dead. There was babies involved. There was an alcoholic driving. It's just a bunch of lies, and now you have like CNN and Fox pitching this car crash that no one has confirmed is true.
Correct.
It's just a fight to the top because they're getting money on advertising.
That's right.
And if you're not pitching the latest idea and not saying relevant, you're irrelevant.
Correct.
Doesn't matter if it's true or not.
And and again, I don't want people to burn the building down, but the hashtag Me Too movement, they proved that 90-something% of those people, after everything calmed down, that were accused never did anything.
That's scary.
But the hashtag Me Too. I don't like you because you didn't give me steak today.
Right.
So before I get to my car on my phone, I'm going to hashtag Me Too. Taylor's mean. He let me starve.
Right.
And no one's going to ask anything.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it does. And now you, Taylor, are going to find out about this a week later.
Right.
And you're going to have to do backpedaling. You're going to have to get on there and state your side and say there's no stake in the building. And then exactly. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say you and Phil both are doing these.
Innocent until proven guilty is gone.
It's gone. because like you said, the sensationalism.
Yeah.
If I can say something really insanely sensational, then I'm cool because people want to hear it. But if I say, I showed up Taylor. Taylor's a cool guy. He's an awesome guy. We did a cool podcast. He's doing a lot of good for the community. That's not exciting.
Right. I don't want to be exciting, though.
Yeah, you want to be truthful.
If this podcast is going to grow, it's because it's going to be truth-based.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's like having people like you on.
Well, thank you. And I have to, as a priest, I have to deal with this all the time.
Yeah.
I see families torn apart by absolute lies and rumors.
Yeah.
And it's like, have you ever tried? And I look at people now and I say, have you ever confirmed any of this?
Right.
No.
It just got out of control too fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the things I learned, thank God I learned it as a young man, is as soon as you hear rumors, first off, the Bible says don't be participating in rumors.
For sure.
But as soon as you hear walk away.
Yeah.
And I warn people, when you and your girlfriend come to work with us on our episodes, I will tell you, if you come to me and tell me anything negative and bad about another person, I'm going to go get them in the moment, bring them over, and right now, before anything else happens, we're dealing with this.
Dude, and that's all, social interactions are these days. I hope everyone has a good community where they feel comfortable talking about real stuff. But it's like I go to these social interactions that are like, maybe just for business or, not best friends, but hopefully soon to be friends. Yeah. And everyone's just gossiping. Like everyone hates their significant other. Everyone hates their boss. Everyone hates their kids, hates their dog. I'm like, what is going on, man? And tell me one good thing about all these people and run with that.
And again,
we all got shit. We all got bad stuff going on, but
Well, and I'm going to cycle back. You know what I'm going to cycle back to now? Spirituality. Mm-hmm. That is a spiritual manifestation. Mm-hmm. Nobody's happy. And that's spiritual. And I force people. I tell them, I want to hear one good thing about someone.
Right.
And I've literally had people walk away.
Really?
I can't think of anything. Do you realize how tragic that is? I can't think of a single good thing to say. Do you realize how tragic you are?
It's a tragedy.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's why they're exploited. That's why you can exploit them in politicians. That's why you can exploit them in fear. Oh, don't get this. And it's like, are you serious? Right. And I'm just going to throw out a word right now, and certain people I'm sure that monitor this, they are following you, Taylor, is certain people. I'm going to throw out one single word, and if we're quiet, you can hear heads exploding and strokes happening. Ivermectin. Look at what happened when people said ivermectin will help certain things. My God, look at what happened. I thought cities were going to burn. And I tell people now, I can't tell you what I'm doing. I'm traveling to New Mexico this weekend, Taylor, but I might have some ivermectin under the seat. I'm not. It's cool, dude, because I got a supplier down there,
right?
And we're pushing it, man. It's ivermectin. Are you serious?
Because that was what, treating COVID or something?
Treating COVID.
Okay.
And I tell people, if you go back in the archive on the Center of Disease Control, go back about 25 years, they're praising ivermectin as a miracle drug.
Really?
The same CDC that said, it'll kill you, they're praising it as a miracle drug.
Huh.
In addition to that, do you know where ivermectin comes from? It was created by the Russians to take into space.
Huh.
as a medicine. So, I mean, come on,
like
man.
an end all be all.
Yeah.
You're sick, take it.
Because if something's in your body that shouldn't be there, probably ivermectin's going to kill it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But see, now I'll give you as the first name. You know, Hector he's a farmer in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And we're moving ivermectin. But don't say anything about that, okay? Don't let people know that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. I feel like I carried ivermectin in my aid station.
Yeah, of course
That's
you
a pretty
did.
routine drug.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, but suddenly it became evil to even talk about it.
Yeah.
Why?
Because people were making money, probably.
Bingo.
I don't know.
No. There you go. But again, what I like about you, and the very first time I met you, is you are an inquisitive, investigative person.
Appreciate it.
No, you are, and you can't survive otherwise. You know, it hurts my heart. It does to see how many people in this country are purely reactive.
Right.
And it's like, wow, no wonder you're grossly in debt. No wonder you're grossly diseased. No wonder you're grossly miserable, because you're reacting to everything.
Right.
And whatever someone tells you got to buy, you're going to go buy it.
Right.
And that includes psychological as well. Someone tells you to believe it, boom, I'm going to do it. Even thinking about what you're doing.
Reactive with no, what's the word, logic, or no like reason to do so.
No substantive value.
Yeah. And why? Because they have this void and they're filling it with what?
Whatever in the moment feels good.
Exactly.
Impulse buying.
Yeah.
Companies have become billionaire companies because of impulse buying.
Yeah, for sure.
And you fill your house with stuff, and I doubt you do, but people fill their house with stuff they just don't need.
Yeah, I had a moment probably 2 years ago or so. I just realized I had way too much stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a minimalist, but I feel like most, if not everything I have has a reason. I have a lot of stuff. I also have a lot of hobbies.
Bingo.
So I'm very practical in what I own or purchase. So
Yeah.
even like when it comes to eating out, I don't know.
What are some of your hobbies?
Where do I start? My favorite's probably dirt biking.
Nice.
Girlfriend and I both have dirt bikes.
Good.
Camping and hiking kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
We play pickleball. We play pool.
Yeah.
I really enjoy making music and DJing.
Nice.
What else? I like stacking rocks in nature.
Right. Right.
Not like little stuff. I just stacked a stack. I made a stack of rocks recently that was just about 6 feet tall. It was only like 8 rocks, so each one probably weighed 20, 30 pounds.
Well, I could see you doing that. Yeah, that's you.
But it's like something, I don't know. I was right by a stream. I was camping. I was going to be out here for another day just to like sit there, find the center of gravity on each rock.
That's right.
And then you let it go and then stack the next one. It was very calming.
Incredibly therapeutic.
People make fun of it. I took a video of it. I showed it to a buddy. He was like, I love seeing those in nature. I knock them over. I'm like, I feel it when you knock my rocks over, man.
But you see the difference there.
Yeah.
You see. Yeah, that's right.
It's
That's
just, anything to calm the mind.
right. And also you ran a marathon.
I did run a marathon. I haven't run much since. I maintain it, run just a few miles a week. But that was something I got out of the military. I just caught myself, listeners, I hope you guys can relate to this, but I got out of the military and I caught myself saying stuff like, I'm never going to run again. I'm never doing dumb shit like that again.
That's right.
And I was like, that's a slippery slope, because it is funny, but like, that's a slippery slope.
Yes, it is.
So I was working with a really good physical therapist with the VA at the time. She was an ultra marathon runner. Samantha Woods, her name. She was a previous episode, probably 5 or 6 episodes ago.
Wow.
Definitely check that one out.
Wow.
But yeah, she motivated me to run a marathon.
Nice.
So, and also helped me like from a PT standpoint. But
nice.
that was a tough one. That was a mental drive. That was a mental push like no other. It really was not physical. I was in as much pain as I was going to be at mile 10.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, right.
The rest was just like you got to drive through this.
That's
man.
right. That's
so
right. Well, I was saying you mentioned that, and it was awesome. I mean, I saw the pictures. It's totally cool.
Yeah.
Totally cool. And I don't know if you recall or not, but I was on that same marathon. Do you remember in the beginning when people where they kept having to run around that guy laying in the road? Yeah, do you remember that?
Right at the beginning?
Yeah, right.
That was like 10 feet in. That was
yeah. That's right. Exactly.
That
No, but you mentioned pickleball, and I was gonna, I used to be on a pickleball team. They kicked me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I kept eating them. No. But no, that's actually very cool, and that you do that stuff, and that's important. That's extremely important.
Right.
And that's very therapeutic. You know the little gardens? I know you've seen the little sand gardens with a little rake.
Yeah.
Do you know that's real therapy?
Zen garden?
Yes, it's
For
Zen
sure.
gardens. They're real therapy.
Absolutely.
And because you make the little signs, you do the stuff, and your brain needs that. We think better in symbols
Right.
than in words. That's true.
Yeah, this sounds, I mean, I'm sure more than others people run with this, but like we strive for order, I think, in our life.
Bingo.
People run with that and want to run the world, but like on a very micro scale, we need to maintain order of our own life. And just having a little sandbox that you move a rock every day and
That's
rake,
right.
like, at least you got this little area of your life that's always in order. So
Exactly right.
you need something like that.
Exactly right. You know, and you talk about order because God is a God of order.
Okay.
Satan is a false god of chaos. Whenever you see chaos and disorder and violence and unfairness and injustice, you know Satan's involved.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
So yeah, that's that's a big thing. So I mean, that's true. You need those things. You need those outlets.
Right.
Because we were made to be creative.
Absolutely.
The human brain works better when it's being creative.
Yeah. Or you're being created.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So that's why people they're naturally drawn to that. And that's why I feel so bad for people when they literally tell you, I don't do anything. I'm just, I never feel right. Yeah, because you're not doing anything.
They're on social media. That's usually what they're doing.
That's right. And one of the saddest things I hear people say is, when I stopped dancing and singing, I stopped being happy.
Yeah.
Just dance and sing.
Expressing themselves.
Yeah. Just express yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not responsible. I know it's tough for people. Like you said, you kept your cool at Walmart. You're not responsible for what other people say or do. You know, if I sat here right now looking at you and I just turned around and bashed my head into that wall right next to us, you're not responsible for that.
Right.
Why would you? Now, you're going to care. You're going to say, what the heck happened to you?
Yeah.
But you didn't do it.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for it. And so I'm responsible for it.
Yeah.
We're responsible for what we do. We're responsible for not what's done to us.
Yeah. I'd be like, he's not wearing plaid. He was crazy anyways.
That's right. Yeah, you have to report me immediately. Yes, and I can take you away to the plaid camp. But no, it's real stuff.
Yeah.
And we're dealing in a society. Let's throw politics out. Let's totally throw it out. We're dealing in a society that is imploding and killing itself.
Yeah.
Literally killing itself. The number of diseases. Did you know? And you probably do, but some people might not know this. Did you know we have diseases now that did not literally exist 10 years ago?
I believe it. 10 years.
10 years.
That's a fast turnaround.
Well, the toxins that we put in our body, the diet we're eating, just take a look. Mm-hmm. And we have all kinds of digestive issues that didn't exist just 20 years ago. We're doing that to ourselves.
I believe it. I had this thought the other day. It was kind of scary. You're a subject matter expert. When was like humanity first? You know, when's like our first, how long ago was that?
You're talking about thousands of years?
Yeah.
Sumer. Ancient Sumer is considered to be the first. And
First signs of humanity.
Yeah, they're about 10,000 years old.
10,000
Yeah,
years
10,000. So, and there's a project called 10,500. Look at that, 10,500. And all the constellations line up with all of the big, the Sphinx, the pyramids and all that. 10,500 years ago, everything was in a straight line with Stonehenge and all that.
Okay.
It's a huge, 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 gigantic rabbit hole.
Right.
We could spend months there.
Yeah, for
but,
sure.
But 10,500 years ago is roughly when the first stuff started to appear, with people writing, with people having laws, things like that.
Okay. I was just curious because if you think about, I don't know how old you are, but like the past 50 years.
Yeah.
Even less, let's say, like.
Well, I'm only 10,400.
You?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, they used to tell me about, the last one. No.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Just think about how we've progressed in the past 50, let
it's
alone
amazing.
the past 20, let alone the past 10.
It's staggering.
Like, if you know anything about compound interest,
yes,
we are compounding in the wrong direction.
Correct.
As far as I'm concerned.
And the vibrations, the energy vibrations, you've heard about all that.
Getting out of whack.
Yep, that's exactly. I was born in Alamogordo, New Mexico, White Sands, a Holloman Air Force Base. My dad helped design and build the lunar module. And he worked out at White Sands Missile Range and White Sands. He worked at Moon City, okay? And he used to say, if we progressed, if aviation progressed like electronics, we would have been walking on Luna, the moon, walking on Luna, 10 years after the Wright brothers flew. Think about that.
Wow.
Now, what you're saying, as far as our culture goes, we're progressing far too fast.
Right.
We're outrunning our own humanity.
Our own brains.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We're outrunning our own humanity.
Yeah.
And so, and you look at some of the people, some of these great, singers, artists, philosophers, just 100, 200 years ago. And
Right.
they warned about this. Eventually, we'll progress to the point where we are surpassing ourselves
Right.
and our own humanity.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I read a lot of old like Stoic writing and philosophy. I can't quote a lot of it. It's just more of a hobby of mine. But, you know, Green Berets, Special Forces, we master the basics. That's
right.
why we're good and fast at what we do. We're not fast because we train to be fast. We're fast because we train the basics for 10,000 hours.
That's
and
right.
now I can move through a house seamlessly and it looks fast.
Right.
That's what they were doing back then.
Correct.
Taking care of yourself, eating healthy.
That's right.
Being loving, not hating people.
Correct.
More love than hate.
Correct.
And that's like what I'm gleaning from all this writing. Like you just have to do the basics. Take care of yourself, be a part of a community, respect one another, go on with your life.
I firmly believe if you take care of the basics, I firmly believe this, everything else falls into place.
Right. Well, we're forgetting what the basics are because we all got genius computers in our pocket listening to us, running AI algorithms.
That's right. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm starting to have like little weird things I've told people, my phone sometimes will actually make suggestions to me out of the blue, you know?
Yeah.
And, I try not to listen to it, but, like when it tells me, like I'll be in bed asleep and my phone will whisper to me, report the neighbors. I have to obey that. I have to, and like my phone told me just the other day, I was driving down the street and the phone said, "Did you see that? These antisocials aren't wearing plaid. Call the police." So I did. I did what I was told to do by the phone. That's the problem. We're making light of it, but that's the problem.
There.
People are obeying these stupid social media algorithms.
Right.
And those algorithms are being used to exploit people just like this person.
Right.
And and I'm not getting in politics, but I ask people, and we all know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Why do you hate this person so much? What have they done? Mm-hmm. Well, haven't you been reading and said, no. That's not what we're talking about.
You're just a mirror.
Why do you hate this person so much?
Right.
Well, haven't you heard? No, I'm not saying you. I'm not talking about what you were told.
Right.
Okay. It's like a child. Yeah. Okay. My mom is this. My dad is this. That's awesome. Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you want to be? Well, I don't know. That's the point. And thank you for thinking for me because I hate this person now because you told me to. And, I feel good that I'm in line with hating person.
Right. Yeah. That's why I really enjoy this podcast because having conversations with people about stuff where they can't like pull out a phone or, this type of conversation is really refreshing. Like I look forward to these recordings. Yeah. So,
well, and the first time I met you was at the Veterans Breakfast and we talked for like 2 hours?
At least.
Yeah. It was awesome. I mean, because it was all legitimate.
Right.
You're a real person. Your girlfriend's a real person. This is all legitimate.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's what I look for in people is how legitimate are you?
Yeah.
And I have a title from Knights of Antioch. I'm Sir. It's legal. It's a legal title, Sir Gregory. Okay. And I've had people attack me over that. Whoa. What do you think you're?
Well, you have a title and I don't like it.
That's the point.
I know. Yeah.
That's the point. And it's like I'm a member of the Knights of Antioch. We go back to the First Crusade. Now we are a benevolent organization. We help people. Right. So I have the pantry, the church, and I'm Sir. Something I've earned over the years, Sir Gregory. And that was one of the things they attacked me on the blog. Mm-hmm. Oh, and he calls himself Sir Gregory while he's doing stuff. And it's like, wow. And you're right. It's I'm going to find a point. That meme when you dislike someone, right? You'll find a reason to hate anything they do. Right. And the example was, look at how he eats that hamburger. Huh. How dare you eat a hamburger that way? It's so shallow. It's so pathetic. But when you look around in our world, that's what you see.
The Veterans Voice podcast is supported by Medicare Mentors. When it's time to consider your Medicare options, it's time to talk with Medicare Mentors. Medicare Mentors, powered by Spark, is veteran-owned and a long-standing partner with Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center. More than that, they go above and beyond to make sure when you need them, they're there lending a helping hand. Medicare Mentors, always above and beyond. Visit MedicareMentorsLLC.com for more information. What's the difference between envy and jealousy, in your opinion?
Oh, wow. I think jealousy is more if you don't like the person. It's personal.
Okay.
Envy is impersonal. I want what you have. I don't know how to get it.
Right.
It's not about you. It's about what you have. Jealousy is, I really don't like you, and I noticed you're breathing.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous that you're breathing. You shouldn't be breathing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I like the word envy. I don't like the word jealousy. I think envy kind of like what you said, envy, someone's above you or has something you want. You are jealous of them, but you're envious of them, and therefore you want to strive to be like them. You look up, you envy your role model.
Right.
You're jealous of an enemy, or you're jealous of, in a greedy way, what that person has.
Right.
So I don't know. I try and be envious of people and strive to be like role models that I have.
Oh, that's nice.
Does that
That's
make
good.
sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
I don't know if there's another word that maybe describes it better, but I just
Inspired.
think we need, we're
Inspired.
envious and inspired to be like
Yeah,
you
inspired,
rather than jealous and want to pull you down.
Because envious usually has a negative connotation.
Okay.
I want what you have because I don't want you to have it.
Mm-hmm.
So I envy that.
Okay.
And people do use it, like you said, but I always like to inspired by
Okay.
or motivated by.
Yeah.
I know you motivate a lot of people.
I
know you do. No, this podcast does. It motivates a lot of people. And that's why, I'm very grateful and appreciative that you've had me on this. And so, but I think that we can be inspired, by things. And it's funny, I was talking to somebody one time, and a lot like you, and he said, I just turned off my computer. I only use it for strictly, emails and stuff I need to. And I told him, I said, that's inspiring.
Yeah.
I wish more people did that.
Yeah.
And you said you did it. So good for you.
Yeah, I hope I inspire people to get more away from social media and more in touch with themselves.
Right.
It's hard nowadays, especially with this podcast. I mean, we have to advertise via social media. I don't do it, but we have to.
Yeah.
That's how we spread the word about
That's
it.
right.
Yeah. You can't lose touch with yourself. And it's really easy nowadays with all this technology that, like I said, we're compounding year over year and just forgetting we have brains.
That's right.
It's really hard to lose touch with yourself.
And one of the things that I've seen destroy a lot of relationships, especially in marriages, families, you were talking about social media, is you can't, when you have a real human being, a real woman in your life, a real man in your life, okay, a human being, flesh and blood, but you're also looking at garbage on the internet. That person can't compete with that.
Yep.
Because that's all staged.
Yep.
It's all programmed. You can't compete with that.
Yeah.
I can't compete with these. I better be careful. I can't compete with these individuals you see on these award shows.
Right.
Getting these awards, and it's like, wow, look, they're so perfect. That is unbelievably staged. The amount of time, energy, effort, money that goes into staging what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You're not seeing the real person at all.
You can if you look at their eyes, though.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Watch their pupils.
Watch their eyes. You better believe it.
Yeah. Windows to the soul.
That's right. And so when you have a real relationship, like you're in a real relationship, and it's a healthy relationship,
right.
But if you were doing, or that other person was doing something on the internet, how can you compete with that?
Can't. And then you lose the drive to do anything else. So it's like people say, well, I'll just, a little bit here, a little bit there.
No.
We can go deep on this one.
Yes.
I'm passionate about it.
We can. Yeah.
You got to love everyone, and you can't fill that. You can't fill that void with anything else other than love.
That's right. So, amen.
Let's wrap up here. But
all right, cool.
Give, you're a veteran. I'm a veteran. What would you say to a veteran struggling right now? Maybe he's isolating, just listening to the podcast, kind of in a dark place. How do you get out of there?
Look at who you are. Look at who you were. Look at where you're at. And what do you want to be? Where do you want to move forward to? And do it. Right now, at this moment, listening to this podcast, do it. Make a step and promise yourself, because you're not going to lie to yourself, I hope. Stop lying to yourself. And make a step. Promise yourself right now that you're going to do one thing. Not 10, not 20. Today, in this moment, do one thing. And I mean this. Is your floor messy? Right now, clean it up. Mm-hmm. Just pick it up. Yeah. And that's it. You're done for the day. Tomorrow, you're going to do something else. Do you used to run? Do you used to walk? Go for a walk. Go to a park. Go to the mall if you feel safer. Go to Walmart if you feel safer. And just make one big loop around the store and go home. Mm-hmm. One thing at a time. You will notice things will start changing. Yeah. And I want you to say to yourself right now in this very moment, I am a created being from a holy God. I have worth. I have value. I matter. And I can and I will do this. And just clean up your floor. Go wash your dishes. Mm-hmm. And then go for a walk at Walmart.
It's so simple, but
it's simple.
You're so inspiring, Greg. I appreciate you coming on the Veterans Voice podcast.
Hey, thank you.
We'll have you on again.
Thank you, sir.
We just became really much better friends.
No, and I'm not saying this. This isn't blowing smoke. I'm not kissing, but Taylor, you really are an awesome guy.
Thanks, man.
No, you really are. And I'm so glad. You Kairos moments, the Bible calls it Kairos. God-planned moments.
Okay.
When you walked into the veterans breakfast and came, and I got to tell people, I'll shut up, but you got to tell people, Taylor just started introducing himself, and everyone was like, "Hey, this guy's cool," and boom, there you go.
Community, man.
That's it.
You don't know I was in a dark place at that first breakfast.
Were you really?
So, a little bit. But that was kind of part of it, you know?
But you took the first step.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
You didn't do 20 things. You didn't come in and song and dance. You didn't make music for us.
Yeah.
You just took that one step.
Exactly.
And that's all you got to do.
I built a community.
That's all you got to do.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to the Veterans Voice podcast. This was Greg, former Green Beret, absolute legend, super wise, super intelligent, brags a lot. All right. You have a good one, Greg.
Hey, God bless you guys. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you, man. Hey, we're shaking hands right now, guys.
USAA is proudly celebrating 100 years of serving the military community. It was a group of soldiers who launched USAA in 1922 by joining together to insure each other's vehicles when no one else would. Since then, USAA has grown to more than 13 million members strong. And through it all, one thing has remained. USAA is still serving the military community and their families. Find out more at usaa.com/100.